Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be part 3. The title for this video from YouTube is, Will the Call for Peace and Safety Bring Peace to the Middle East or War? And this is part 3. Now we're going to continue on with this article that came up. It's a pretty long article, but it was an interview. They were asking some important questions that I'd like to cover. And just before I do, if this is the first time that you showed up at my YouTube channel, go to my website, www.bibleprophecyman.com. And when you're there, you'll see the front and the back cover of my book. You can download the book from the link right below the front and back covers. And you can do this absolutely for free with no strings attached whatsoever. It's coming to you for free. Now let's get into this report, and this deals with, again, peace and safety. Why they're talking peace and safety, sudden destruction comes. Paul did not write under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit that while they're talking peace and safety, everything would be okay and they would have peace. It was just the opposite from the 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. Now, unlike the false period, the setup period that we're going to see during the tribulation, or what kicks off the tribulation, when the Antichrist comes and he signs a covenant, a peace agreement. And so we know that there's a direct distinction between what Paul's writing and what we see from the book of Revelation. This tells us they're completely different events. Now here is the interview. And the title is, again, Palestinian Envoy to UN European States Will Recognize Palestine Before September. Riyad Mansour tells the Houthis that the Palestinian Authority UN bid is last chance for a two-state solution. This is dealing with the Palestinians going to the United Nations and doing primarily the same thing that Israel did in 1948 when Israel went before the United Nations to become a nation, and they granted the nation, or granted Ben Gurion, who was the leader at that time of Israel, to become a nation in 1948. And the very next day when that happened, we saw war between the Arabs and the Israel. It was part of the birth pangs of this last days peace and safety call. And the birth pangs since 1948 have gotten a lot worse. Let me continue on. It says the Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, is in the forefront of the Palestinian diplomatic move, now gaining momentum before the General Assembly meet in September. In the coming weeks, Mansour will submit to the UN Security General an official request to Palestine to be accepted as a full member of the world body. Mansour hopes that September will see more than 130 countries voting in the General Assembly in favor of recognizing a Palestinian state, even if it does not receive full member status. Now they're talking about 130 nations. In Zechariah 12:3, Jesus, or in the Old Testament, we're told that all of the nations would be coming against Israel in Jerusalem in the last days. So what we see here are the footsteps leading to the fulfillment of Zechariah 12:3, because they will all come against Israel. So there's a leading direction of prophecy right in that statement. And now here's a question. What do you think about the fact that the quartet, United States, Russia, the European Union, the United Nations, has not published a statement? This is the question that was asked in this interview. The quartet, now remember that's the four entities that are working for the peace agreement. The quartet decision to send envoys is a fancy way of saying they failed. The Americans just could not deliver the Israelis. Don't think that the Palestinian move to the UN is just symbolic and will not change anything on the ground. The Israeli government is fighting us, saying that the international community should not let us do that. It is symbolic. If it is symbolic, why are they fighting it so hard? If it is definitely not symbolic. And here's another question that they ask. What will happen if you don't get the 130 votes that you are expecting? If we go to a vote tomorrow, we will get 2/3 of the General Assembly. We have the votes. The significance of the number of votes is to maximize the pressure on the Security Council. What will be the agreement of anyone who deprive us of the right to join the community of nations? And the next question is, do you think you will be able to get any EU member states to recognize the Palestinian state? Which is a good question. Just hold tight. You will be hearing interesting news soon about it before September. Another question. Are you going to apply the UN, or are you going to apply to the UN on July 15th and ask to become a full member? And obviously today's the 14th, and if they're going to do this, it would be in tomorrow's news. So it goes on. This is the answer. We will apply when we are ready. Israel submitted its application in 1948 on the last week of the General Assembly session. They asked for the Security Council to suspend the articles that dealt with time regimentation because of their special situation. It took Israel 7 months to become a full member in May of 1949. Look at South Sudan, which, by the way, if you go to my website, you'll see that that prophecy was just fulfilled. It says, look at South Sudan. It will take them 2 weeks to become a member. So the time procedures are not rigid. Here's the other question. But what will happen on the next day after the UN resolution? It is similar to the General Assembly Resolution 181 in 1947. The following day, nothing happened. But was Israel able to declare independence without the 181? I don't think so. We are going through the same process right now. The next day, the sun will rise from the east, but the resolution will be historic and will lead the way to the Declaration of Independence. In other words, making a Palestinian state like it happened in 1948 to Israel. Huge things take time. Things will not change in 24 hours. Well, they did change in 24 hours. That was a fulfillment of prophecy for the nation Israel that you'll see in my book. Israel became a nation in 1 day. It says, all those who wish for a silver bullet, there will be no such thing, but there will be accumulation. Next question. Do you see Tahrir Square scenario in Ramallah? And this is where the Egyptians rioted in Egypt to get rid of Mubarak. It says, it is not for me to decide for the Palestinian people. Our people have a rich tradition of struggling and collective wisdom in doing what is proper. If they will believe and come to the conclusion that the battle is their battle and not only the battle for Abdul Mazen, or this is Ahmad Abbas, who's the leader of the Palestinian organization, or Salam Fayyad, they will reflect itself. The Palestinian people are like the Egyptian people and are capable of doing remarkable things, but these things you don't give orders for. If the Egyptian people managed to change the U.S. position in 18 days so that Obama told his ally Mubarak to leave, what will be the position of the international community be if the Palestinian people will say, we want independence and we want it now? We learned our lesson, and this is why our struggle will be peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. Why would anyone stand in our way? This is a very good point, because President Mubarak was a really good ally of the United States, but what happened? President Obama stabbed him in the back and just sent him under the bus several times. The bus rolled back and forth over Mubarak, and he lost the leadership of Egypt. And this is what the Palestinian is saying, that they believe Israel is going to see the same thing from President Obama again. Now, according to the news that just came out, where Obama is still stressing that the Israel give 1967 borders back to Israel. So we see that he's already beginning to want to throw them under the bus. It goes on to say, next question, you are not afraid to find yourselves in a third intifada? Now this is a war with Israel. That's what that means. Here's the answer. I don't want to give it names. It is just the will of the Palestinian people. If it exhibits itself in a peaceful way, it will enter the configuration of the dramatics of how to solve this situation. If the international community will not step up to the plate as it should, and the quartet is not doing anything, the Palestinian people who live under the occupation might contribute to their own way. In other words, war, another infantada. And when you read Thessalonians, we know that sudden destruction will come, and obviously this is what exactly is going to happen. So with that, I have a few pages left, so we're going to scroll down and finish this article and get into a couple other segments here for prophecies that you really should know about. So we're going to go on to the next video. Thank you.